Welcome back to Phantom Wealth. History rarely moves in a straight line. It moves in heartbeats. And on the night of January 14th, 2026, the heart of the world skipped a beat. The engines of the B-21 Raiders were warm. The target coordinates in Tehran, the missile silos, the command bunkers, the palaces were locked. President Trump had told the world, help is on its way. The betting markets on Polymarket were screaming, war, with odds vertical at 47%.
I remember refreshing the feed. Every expert, every pundit was saying, tonight is the night. The U.S. is finally going to decapitate the regime.
And then, silence. The order came down, stand down. Trump told the press he heard from reliable sources that the killings had stopped. He said, we will watch and wait.
So, we blinked? After all that fire and fury, we just blinked?
You think we blinked? No, look closer. Look at what is happening in the shadows while everyone stares at the podium. While the president talks about waiting, the Pentagon is quietly evacuating non-essential personnel from Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar. You don't empty your command center if you're planning peace. You empty it if you're expecting the ground to shake. Tonight, we are going to dissect the most dangerous 30 minutes in modern history. We aren't just asking, will there be war? We are asking, why did the most aggressive president in history suddenly pause at the 11th hour? The answer isn't in the Situation Room. It's in a bankrupt bank ledger in Tehran, a Russian convoy on the Caspian Sea, and a terrifying calculation about the price of oil. Welcome to the autopsy of the almost war.
Okay, take me back. Why now? Iran has been a mess for decades. Why did the whole country suddenly explode in late 2025?
Because messy is sustainable, broke is not. The media tells you this is about freedom or hijabs. And sure, that is the fuel. But the spark? The spark was money. Let me introduce you to the villain of this story. It's not a general, it's a bank. Hyundai Bank.
I've heard you mention this. The Future Bank?
Ironically named, because it destroyed Iran's future. This bank was the piggy bank for the regime's elite. They took billions in deposits from regular Iranians, shopkeepers, teachers, truck drivers, and lent it to themselves to buy malls, mansions in London, and villas in Toronto. By late 2025, the hole was $5 billion deep. When the bank finally collapsed, the government did the only thing they know how to do. They turned on the money printers.
They printed their way out of a default?
They tried, but when you print trillions of rials in an economy sanctioned to death, you get hyperinflation. 40%, 50%, 60%. The rial became wallpaper. Suddenly, a loaf of bread costs a wheelbarrow of cash. This is why you see the bazaars, the conservative merchants who supported the revolution in 1979, now marching in the streets shouting, "Death to the dictator." When the middle class loses everything, the regime loses its shield.
And the crackdown? The 20,000 dead?
Desperation. The estimates range from 2,500 to 20,000. Why such a gap? Because they are shutting down the internet and burying bodies at night. But here is the brutal calculus. Killing 20,000 people costs money. You have to pay the Basij militia. You have to fuel the motorcycles. You have to buy the tear gas. And for the first time in 40 years, Tehran is running out of cash to pay its own thugs. That is why Trump smelled blood.
Okay, the regime is broke and killing its own people. Trump sees an opening. Help is on its way. So, where is the cavalry? I looked at the naval tracking apps. The USS Gerald R. Ford is in the Caribbean, staring at Venezuela. The Lincoln is moving, but it's not parking off the coast of Iran like in the old days. The Persian Gulf looks empty.
Empty. That is what the amateurs see. You are thinking like it's 2003. You think war equals aircraft carrier parked next door. But look at the chessboard. Iran has spent the last 20 years building one thing: anti-access area denial missiles. They have thousands of drones, cruise missiles, and ballistic rockets pointed directly at the narrow waters of the Persian Gulf.
So, putting a carrier in the Gulf is
Suicide. It's putting a $13 billion target in a bathtub with a swarm of explosive piranhas. Trump's generals know this. They learn from the war games. If you park a carrier in the Gulf, Iran sinks it in 20 minutes. So, they did something brilliant. They emptied the Gulf.
Wait, if the Gulf is empty, how do we strike?
We don't need to be close to kill you anymore. This is the new doctrine. Agile combat employment. Look at the movement of the C-17 Globemasters and the KC-46 tankers in the region. They aren't flying to big bases. They are dispersing. Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Diego Garcia, even parts of Europe. And the hammer? The hammer isn't on a boat. It's in Missouri, the B-2 Spirits, and the new B-21 Raiders.
The stealth bombers.
Exactly. They can take off from the U.S., fly 15 hours invisible to radar, drop a bunker buster on a nuclear site in the Tans, and fly home. The empty Gulf isn't a retreat, it's a kill box. We are clearing the friendly targets out of the way so that when the shooting starts, the Iranians have nothing to hit, but we can hit everything.
Okay, so we have the empty Gulf trap set. The B-2 bombers are ready. The kill box is open. So why didn't we strike on January 14th? Why the sudden pause?
Because playing poker against Iran is one thing, but when you look across the table and see Vladimir Putin stacking his chips, the math changes. On the morning of January 14th, intelligence reports landed on Trump's desk. They weren't about Iranian missiles, they were about Russian ships.
Russian ships? In the Persian Gulf?
No, the back door, the Caspian Sea. While the world was watching the south, Russia opened the lifeline in the north. We are talking about armored vehicles, riot control gear, and potentially advanced air defense parts, moving directly from Russian ports to Iranian hands.
But Russia is busy in Ukraine. Why would they waste resources on Iran?
Ha! Waste? It is an investment. Putin knows exactly what he is doing. If the U.S. gets dragged into a major war with Iran, where does our ammunition go? To the Middle East, not Ukraine. An American war in Iran is the greatest gift Putin could ask for. He isn't sending tanks to save the Ayatollah because he likes him. He is sending them to trap us.
So if we strike Iran, we might be hitting Russian personnel?
Exactly. And that is the red line. Trump wants a swift strike, not World War III. The moment Russian assets entered the equation, the easy win vanished.
Okay, Russia makes it messy. But what about Israel? Surely Netanyahu is screaming for the U.S. to bomb Tehran? They've wanted this for 20 years.
You would think so. But this is where the story gets twisted. A leak from January 14th suggests that Israeli intelligence actually advised Washington to wait.
Wait? Israel said wait? That makes no sense.
It makes perfect sense if you understand psychology. Right now, the Iranian people are in the streets shouting death to the dictator. The regime is crumbling from the inside. The anger is directed at their own government. But imagine if an American missile hits a neighborhood in Tehran tonight. Imagine if civilians die from a U.S. bomb.
The narrative flips.
Instantly. Suddenly, the Ayatollah isn't the corrupt banker who stole your savings. He becomes the defender of the nation against the great Satan. It's the rally round the flag effect. History is full of failing dictators who were saved by a foreign attack. Israel knows this. They don't want to give the regime a lifeline. They want the regime to rot.
So the strategy is let them starve?
Cruel, isn't it? But effective. The Israelis are betting that hyperinflation will do what a bunker buster cannot. They want the collapse to be internal, total, and irreversible.
So, okay, so Russia is a trap, and Israel says wait. But Trump is Trump, he hates looking weak. If he does decide to ignore the advice and strike, what is the worst-case scenario?
The worst case isn't a nuclear war. It's an economic heart attack. Everyone asks, can Iran defeat the U.S. Navy? Of course not. But they don't have to defeat us. They just have to bankrupt us. Look at the Strait of Hormuz. 20% of the world's oil flows through that tiny neck of water. If the first Tomahawk lands in Tehran, Iran has one move left. They mine the strait. They sink a supertanker in the narrowest channel.
And oil prices?
Double, overnight. $150, maybe $200 a barrel. Think about what that does to the U.S. economy. Inflation roars back to 10%. The stock market crashes. The Trump boom evaporates in 24 hours. Trump knows this. He is a businessman before he is a general. He knows that bombing Iran might feel good for a news cycle, but $8 gas at the pump loses elections.
It's a stalemate. We can't invade and we can't bomb without blowing up the global economy.
It's not a stalemate, it's a siege. And inside the castle, the defenders are eating each other. But there is one final card to play, a card that could force Trump's hand, whether he likes it or not.
What card?
The nuclear breakout. We said earlier that Trump paused because of Russia and oil prices. But this card, it overrides everything. It is the nuclear suicide vest. Imagine you are the supreme leader. The banks are collapsing. The people are rioting. The Russians are helping, but they are far away. You are cornered. What is the one thing that guarantees the U.S. will never invade you?
A nuke, like North Korea.
Exactly. North Korea starves, but nobody bombs them. Why? Because they can level Seoul. Intelligence suggests that hardliners in Tehran are pushing for a nuclear sprint. They argue, if we are going to die anyway, let's build the bomb before we go.
Jesus, how close are they?
Days, maybe weeks. They already have the 60% enriched uranium. Jumping to 90% weapons grade is just a matter of turning the centrifuges to maximum speed. This is the nightmare scenario for the White House. If U.S. satellites detect a heat spike at Natanz, if they see the sprint starting, Trump cannot wait.
He has to strike, even with $200 oil? Even with Russia?
Yes. Because a nuclear-armed Iran collapsing into civil war, that is a loose nuke scenario. That is how you get a mushroom cloud in Tel Aviv or Riyadh. So, this pause on January 14th, it's not peace, it's a staring contest. We are watching their centrifuges, they are watching our bombers. The first one to blink loses everything.
This is too much. 1 minute it's peace, the next it's nuclear war. I can't trust the news.
Don't trust the news, trust the money. Let's go back to Polymarket. Why did I tell you to watch the odds? Because prediction markets are efficient. They aggregate the fears of thousands of insiders. Right now, the odds of a strike dropped slightly after Trump's wait-and-see comment. But look at the volume. Millions of dollars are still betting on yes.
Who is betting?
The people who know something we don't. And look at the stock market. While the S&P 500 is jittery, look at the defense primes. Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Northrop Grumman. They are hitting all-time highs. Wall Street isn't buying the peace narrative. They are buying guidance systems. They are buying bunker busters. And crypto, Bitcoin, is fluctuating wildly. Why? Because in a hyperinflationary crisis, like what we see in Iran, people run to hard assets. We are seeing massive outflows from the Middle East into decentralized ledgers. The rats are leaving the sinking ship and they are carrying Bitcoin.
So, wrap it up for me, S1. We have 72 hours. What happens?
In the next 72 hours, I predict nothing.
Nothing?
No explosions. No invasion. Trump will keep the empty Gulf trap set. He will let the sanctions strangle the Iranian economy until the Allende Bank collapse spreads to every single sector. He is betting that the Iranian people will do the dirty work for him. He wants a coup, not a war.
But if he's wrong?
If he's wrong, if Iran sprints for the bomb, then the B-2s will fly from Missouri. And the world changes overnight. So, what do? 1. Watch oil. If it breaks $85, the risk is priced in. If it breaks $100, the insiders know war is starting. 2. Watch the rial. If the black market rate stops quoting, the regime has lost control. 3. Don't bet on stability. The phantom wealth created by this bubble of false peace is about to pop. We are living in the 11th hour. The clock hasn't struck 12 yet, but the ticking is getting louder. For the full list of assets I am holding to hedge against a Middle East collapse in catering the specific defense stocks and commodities, click the link in the description. Until next time, keep your eyes on the shadows.